Hi, my name is Hank Friedman. Welcome to my next tutorial on solar fire. Before we start, I'd like to remind you that I have over 150 free tutorials in Western and Vedic astrology at learnastrologyfree.com. I also have a website devoted to solar fire called solarfiregold.com. And I have a website that reviews many different programs called soulhealing.com. What I'm going to talk about today is the chart search feature of Solar Fire. I'm using Solar Fire 9, which has the chart search feature in its most advanced form. The way that you access the chart search feature is to click on Chart at the top left of the screen and then select Chart Search, and you'll see the screen in front of you. The first thing I'd like to show you is what happens in the upper left corner. You can choose what files to search: your default chart file, all the chart files in your folder, or selected chart files. Let's say we're going to choose that and click Add. And then I'm going to go down to the ones that are some of the ones that are included in Solar Fire, like Contemporary Chart. I'll add. And let's see what else. How about Famous Solar Fire 9? Okay? Good. So we've chosen two charts files to use, although you can add all of them if you want by using the middle one, all chart files. I'm going to clear the list of search conditions because that's what we're going to be adding, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. Notice on the bottom right, you can choose whatever aspect set you want. The way that you do that is by clicking on the arrow to the left, to the right, and choose whatever aspect set you want to use if aspects are part of your search. You can also choose what planets are part of the pattern by clicking on that. You can choose any set of planets. And remember that Solar Fire has the capability of allowing you to choose create any number of aspect sets and any number of planetary point sets. So that's a very great feature of the program. Now we're going to go up to the search condition selection at the top right. Notice that there's tabs like Indignity, Is Planet, Consideration. We're going to look at each of those. Indignity. Now notice here I have Show Advanced Options. If you don't want it to look that complicated, you can unclick that, and then it's much more simple of a menu. The Show Advanced Options is for people who work with Hellenistic astrology and things like that, more advanced astrologers. So let's unclick it for now. And so Indignity, Moon is in rulership using modern rulerships. That's what it says. But let's change it so you can see how it's done. You click on the down arrow and let's say Jupiter. And let's say Jupiter's in detriment. Okay? And we'll use modern for now. And then here's a button that says Add. Add this condition to the list. So I click on that and it says Find Jupiter in detriment modern. And let's just search now. The bottom right is a search button. So we'll go there, and the next thing you see, and I'll pull this over so we can see it, is that things are being searched. And it shows you all of the people who meet the conditions we're talking about. And it's finding quite a few people. If you look up here, it shows you what percentage it's found. Okay? 6.69% of the people had that condition. Okay? Now when it's done, you can also preview any chart by clicking Preview, and I'll drag that preview chart up so you can see it. And so you get a preview of any chart in the thing, and if you click on another chart with the preview box checked, then it will automatically show you each person you click on. In any case, right now the check box is unchecking each time I close it, so I'm not sure why that is. Let me see if I drag that away and leave that open and click on someone else. No, it's not. Oh, I see. Yes. If you put the preview chart up here and you click on different names, it will automatically show you each person's name and how they meet the condition. So for instance, you see Jupiter's in detriment in Gemini. And so there it is in Gemini, and there it is in Gemini, and there it is in Gemini. Right? Let's see. Yep. Okay. So that preview chart is very, very useful. You can also open the chart in the Solar Fire window. You can print the list of people who meet the conditions. You can email the list to whomever you want, and you can copy the list to a clipboard. Collect all the charts and to create a subset of all the charts. You're not copying the list, you're copying all the charts to a new chart file in case you want to investigate it further. Now, let's say I want to clear that. At the bottom of the list of search conditions is and or not, delete and clear. So I'm going to hit clear and it gets rid of them all. Let's look at the next one. Is planet. The modern ruler of Jupiter is the moon. Okay, meaning the moon is operating, Jupiter's in the moon's sign. Okay? And there's a lot of different choices here. Then there's considerations. You could search charts for who has moon void of course by two different methods, one of them lily, one more modern. Is the moon waxing fast in via combusta, a section of a sky? Is the ascendant nearest sign boundary? Is the sun above the horizon? So those are the conditions built in. You can search for aspect patterns, like who has a T-square, or who has Thor's hammer or a kite. And there's a lot of different configurations, any chart patterns, including diamonds, 5-point stelliums, and so on. Okay? Then we go to coordinates. You can say, I want Jupiter at a particular longitude, latitude, right ascension, speed, and so on. And so you can search for planets or azimuth or altitude. So at certain coordinates, you can find it. And you'd enter the value here that you want for it. Now the chart details is very useful because let's say, for instance, you have a client, you remember their first name, you don't remember their last name. It can show you all the people who have a particular name, or were born a particular date, or a particular time, or a particular place, or a particular longitude or latitude, and so on. That can be very useful at times. Then we have the chart shapes. These are based on Mark Edmund Jones. So who has a splash chart, or a sling chart, or a bucket chart, or a splay chart? The midpoint basically says, first of all, you can choose a modulus. Some people use midpoints most people use midpoints other than 360 degrees. They use 180 or 90 or 60 or 45. Let's say 45, okay? So we change the modulus to 45. Right there. And you can control the orb too. 1 degree orb, 2 degree orb, whatever, up to 5. So you can say, I want the moon. You can be a single point or a midpoint, contacting either another point or midpoint. The way you make it a point is by having both A and B be the same. So if we go A is Saturn and B is Saturn, then it becomes the point, Saturn, that it's going to contact. So if the Sun-Moon midpoint is Saturn, let's add that to the search. Let's do another search, and there you can see it happening. And then you'll again have people with Saturn at the Sun-Moon midpoint, which might have a very important impact on who they are. And again, we can press preview and click on various people and see that. Okay, so here's this moon, there's this sun, and sure enough, there's Saturn at the midpoint of the two. Okay? Now, we have a lot of other choices. For instance, in sign is perhaps one of the most obvious ones. Who has Jupiter in Aries, for instance? Or, and remember, you can go very far. Who has Juno in a sign, for instance? Or in a house, right? Or two planets in aspect, or points in aspect to each other. You can have any aspect, any hard aspect, no aspect, conjunction, opposition, square, and so on. Okay, so you have quite a few choices there. And remember, you can control the aspect set that's used down here. And then, of course, you can have phases. These are like lunar phases, okay? And there can be phases 1 of 2, which is like between the conjunction and opposition, between the opposition and conjunction, or 4 phases, or 8 phases, okay? And then finally, you have a position. You can choose a specific degree of the zodiac and either have a point aspecting it or actually conjuncting that particular point. Okay, so any aspect, conjunction, or whatever again. Now, what makes this particularly powerful is, let's say you want to find someone who has Venus in Aries, and you also want their Venus to be in hard aspect to Mars, because Mars rules Aries. And so you click and, you add, and see, there it is, and. Find Venus in any hard aspect to Mars and Venus in Aries. Okay, let's fix that because that didn't work quite right. We're going to start again. Venus in Aries, add. Find Venus in Aries. And then we're going to click and we're going to say in aspect, and again turn off the advanced options, Venus in hard aspect to Mars. Add. And it says add. If you wanted it or, you could just click that again, it would change to or. And then you could click it again to and. You highlight it and then click or and. So now if you search, you're going to find people who have Venus in Aries and Venus in hard aspects. So let's again turn on the preview. And we see that, for instance, Audrey Hepburn had Venus in Aries square Mars. And interestingly enough, Katharine Hepburn also had Venus in Aries square Mars. That's sort of an interesting coincidence, isn't it? I hope you're getting the idea that this is a tremendously powerful module. Thank you.